All right, everybody, welcome back to Feeling Your Passion podcast. I have Bill here. If you guys have watched any of our live events, Bill has been the tech guy by popular demand. You always make an appearance, tell us all the technical information we need on new gear. Bill, you want to give us a quick little background? Since normally we're historically storytelling on this podcast. This podcast is going to be product heavy. This is going to be kind of the Winter 23 buyer's guide. So you're coming to HayDays, you're going to snow shows, you're going to your dealers, and you want to check stuff out. We're going to fill you guys in on what's new. But Bill, people don't really know a little bit about you besides the tech.
That's a good thing. Yeah, I've been really, out in the mountains. Been in the snowmobile industry just a little over 6 years here at 509, but a lot of it I spent backcountry skiing and climbing, and I just always had a passion for being out in the mountains. And traveling around in the mountains with snowmobiles is kind of really the next level. You get to go farther and deeper and get to explore a lot more. I just went and traveled to Fairbanks snowmobile last April. Was an awesome
whole different world there.
Yeah, a whole different world.
Yeah.
Really cool, kind of just to go explore some of the different areas to go ride. So
yeah,
bringing a lot of the gear along, doing a lot of the testing, and getting a feel of just kind of what's really working. And I mean, just in the 6 years I've been here, we've seen some huge improvements just in
definitely
the product that we're using.
It's super cool to see. You lack that in some brands, having people who are on the design side actively wearing the gear. So I think it just drives home that much more for the consumer that, hey, these are, tested and designed by riders here in-house. So that's just, a little testament to you and your team.
We are far from athlete grade. We're definitely on that.
I've pulled your skis.
Yeah, exactly. And in a lot of ways, I think that is probably where everyone's going to start, is that steep learning curve in snowmobiling. And the gear still has to work. I think that's almost the worst case, especially in goggles and some of that stuff where you are not being efficient as possible, and the goggle still has to not be fogging up, and we definitely do test that.
Right. Well, excuse me. Well, before we dive in, I just kind of want to quickly address the little elephant in the room. We appreciate everybody and your support over the last few years. We know it's been a little bit of a couple hiccups and, speed bumps along the way through these weird times the last 2 years, but things are tracking for the better.
Way better this year. Last year was pretty tough. A lot of headwinds from everything. A lot of supply chain, especially in a lot of electronic parts and pieces. COVID, shutting down factories, and just anything that could happen seemed like it happened last year. Was really tough to kind of get some of the product in late. Definitely not kind of our plan. But we've got a lot more coming this year, a lot earlier, a lot smoother. So I'm hopeful we got most of the stuff in. There's still, a couple little items that are going to come straggling in, but we're looking pretty good this year already.
Yeah. So we hear all of you, we see you, we appreciate the continued support. But that hasn't stopped us from continuing to raise the bar. Bill, what do you want to really dive into first? So we got 3 different kind of primary disciplines of riders in this industry.
Yeah.
We got the crossover guy, we got the mountain guy, and we got the trail guy. And in all 3 of those categories, we have some cool new stuff coming out this year.
Yeah, I think we could go through a few of the kind of the awesome products that we have, some of the more recent products that we've developed. Maybe some of them came out a little bit late last year, so some customers maybe have not seen those out in their dealers. But we can definitely give you some highlights. I think, as you mentioned, you go into some of these events, come by. We're going to be at a lot of those events. We'll be able to talk about a lot of the product that's out there. But we can introduce you to some of the new stuff and get you fired up for snowmobile season.
You want to kick it off of the big guns here?
I do
it's think a hot topic.
This one is probably my favorite. A lot of work's gone into this. A lot of the team has built aspects of this. It's been really an evolution. We started with the Ignite, when I started here in 2016.
And Was that Kingpin originally? Or was that the X5?
I think an X5. And
God,
then
it's evolved fast.
Yeah. Then we went into the Kingpin, and it was a great goggle. And I think even your friend Stephen Clark kind of described like the Ignite goggle has changed how you go ride. You're not limited now by, I've got 2 goggles along, and when those 2 blow out, I got to go back to the car. Or back to the truck. But now that you've got the Ignite, it will actually allow you to ride farther, still have great visibility.
This thing is a mouthful. So from start to finish, in order, it is the Aviator 2.0 S1 Ignite.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Good job.
Thank you.
And it is a mouthful.
I got to brush up for show season here.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff packed into this. We've made a firmware improvement this year. So even if you bought the goggle last year, with the app, the 509 app that will talk to the battery pack, that allows you to be able to update that firmware and make it smarter. So we've made just a couple little tweaks in there, improve the automatic zone. It can now better identify the temperature and humidities and turn on when it needs to be on and go to a lower mode when it doesn't need to be on to maximize battery.
So if you're totally green to this thing is compatible with your cell phone through our app. And within there, we have so many different things you can do. Like you hit on there, we got different temperature modes, fan on or off, the humidity sensor, temperature as well, or is it just humidity?
Temperature and humidity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think the concept of this goggle really is a battery pack that is heating the lens. We got an Ignite heated lens and then a fan built into the frame. That heat and that fan both do a great job of driving off humidity. And then inside the frame, you can kind of see inside there's a temperature and humidity sensor that feeds back into the battery pack and makes some kind of smart decisions of turn the fan on, turn the heat on, because we're sensing a dew point or a temperature and humidity that we want to avoid. So I think that is really the kind of the mechanism to be able to improve the anti-fog capabilities. The magnetic lens that you're seeing, that just makes it so easy to be able to get that on and off.
I think that all the tech aside, I think that's what people are 100% in for. It's so easy to change a lens. And the fact that you don't have to deal with any wires anymore.
Right.
Everything's just transferred right through the magnet. And it's dummy proof.
It is. It truly is easy to change the lens in the field. Not necessarily that you need to, but if it's cloudy at the start of the day and goes full sun, you can have a clear lens or a yellow lens for that low light condition, and then go to more of a mirror or a smoke in that full bluebird kind of day. And you don't have to bring a whole goggle, just bring a spare lens. Yep. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I used this pretty extensively this winter. Really enjoyed it, and I also don't mess around with my phone. I turn it on. I've got it in a mode that I usually go to the blue mode. There's a low, medium, high in the blue mode. And last year I was kind of playing around with that, but I would be able to ride all day, 6, 7, 8 hours, and it would be running, no fog. It just is an amazing goggle.
That's a good thing to hit on right there. If the Bluetooth capability of the phone and the app is awesome, but I mean, the reality is a lot of people don't want that much technology when they're going snowmobiling.
Right.
So the fact that you can still just flip it on into whatever its native mode is off the start and still have completely clear vision all day long without dialing it into its full potential, that's just great out of the box. If you don't want to deal with all the tech side and you still just want to click it on and ride, it is more than capable of keeping you clear and clear vision all day long.
Yeah. This one actually is a little bit different than the Ignite. It's got a little battery door, so you can actually put a battery in and out. So if you do need an extra battery, that's a little bit easier to deal with. But I've honestly found I don't need a spare battery if I'm fully charged up in the morning. It's a good all-day ride condition, and we've not been able to do that without the technology that tells it to turn on and turn off when it's needed. So now we've taken that S1 Ignite technology and we put it into our new goggle. don't know if you guys have seen this X7.
A personal all-time favorite. Hands down my favorite goggle we've ever developed.
Really?
That Sinister
Nice.
X7.
This one is also, this is new for us. Also has that magnetic lens attachment. This is a little bit more of a cylindrical lens. I do like the Aviator, but honestly, it's just a look of the toric lens. But this X7 has really got some of that same technology. And within this frame, we've built an X7 Ignite S1 also. So the S1 comes in both of these.
Well, I'm super glad you can hit on all that S1 stuff, because I'm going to trigger a lot of people here. I don't ever run Ignites. I get the question all the time of, what do you think of the Ignites? And honestly, I'm giving other people's opinion just from word of mouth.
Yeah.
There's rave reviews. Like, there's not a single person I know that hates their Ignites.
Right.
But I'm sorry, people. I don't fog goggles anymore.
You're an efficient rider. You're not getting stuck. You're keeping some airflow going. I think, there some of my friends that ride with, they don't need them.
That's why I'm absorbing it when you're telling me about it, so I can, rewrite my script for the upcoming snow show season.
Yeah. I think it is really kind of dependent on those conditions. If it is blower, really a kind of a storm day, there's just a lot of moisture in the air.
Yeah.
I don't know how you keep all of that going, but this X7 actually, without the Ignite, this one is just an X7 dual pane lens. We've got some other venting in here that helps passively as you get some air motion. That air allows you to go through there and keep it from fogging. Anti-fog lens on the inside, that also helps. So it is also a great option.
I'd say if you guys are familiar with the previous generation, the Sinister X6, I confidently say I feel like it's almost 15% more field of view on the X7.
It is.
It's great. Looking downward, the lower third of your frame is a much expanded field of view. I mean, that's just an awesome goggle, and the outriggers really set that thing back in the helmet now.
Right.
It's just comfortable. It looks damn good too.
Yep. I think this is a fantastic new chassis for us, I think, with the magnetic lens, but we've maximized that lens and that field of view. It is. It's like, again, just like, we've made some of these key improvements over the years, and they were great goggles at the time, but we just kind of keep getting them bigger and better field of view. And that just allows you to get more inputs. And
it's a reoccurring topic on this podcast. It's funny, this snowmobiles. We talk a lot about how, like, a 2023 Matrix, at what point is that thing going to feel not capable, right? They're so advanced now. I'm always like, there's no way 10 years from now this thing's going to feel like junk. But you look 10 years before present day here, and you can't go anywhere with these machines.
Right.
But same thing with technology, through our outerwear, goggles, whatever it may be. When the X6 came out, I'm like, how do we amplify this? And now the X7 is out, and I'm like, man, X6 is old news. It's wild how we can constantly find something to evolve upon and make it bigger and better.
We've got some good stuff on the list that we're looking at for the future. So it's not over yet, but it is cool to be able to build the gear in such a way that you don't have to worry about the gear. You don't have to think about the gear. You just need to concentrate on riding.
Yeah.
I think the sleds have come a long way in that same way, where you could make the thing do what you wanted to do, but it was work. Right.
Yep.
And they just keep getting easier and more flickable, better riding. So I'm thankful for that, because it makes me a better rider for sure.
All right. Well, we kind of covered, those are our two kind of home run goggles, I'd say, for the winter 23 season.
Yeah.
And must-haves.
These are in stock.
That's the best part.
These are in stock, ready to sell at the dealers, on our website.
At HayDays, at the snow shows, everywhere this fall, you're going to see these. So
I will be at HayDays, standing at the goggle rack. So come and chat.
Bill loves to geek out over goggles, so please visit him at the HayDays booth. Where do you want to move from here? You want to dive into some outerwear, helmets? Kind of the table is yours.
Well, I think, just as we're in this mountain mode, I think one of the other key pieces that I really enjoyed using, and it's, kind of I don't, maybe not as exciting, but the new Raid BOA boots,
Boots are exciting. Boots are exciting.
Okay. Not just revised, but I think really evolved from the original Raid boot. We made that improvement last year. I just got a pair myself, and just really a good evolution in that boot. A little stiffer, a little bit better fit. We've done a little bit of work really just in creating a better heel cup. And I mean, again, you just don't have to worry about cold feet.
Yeah.
You've got great support. And so those are also in stock and a great foundational piece for snowmobile riding.
Yeah. It's been fun testing those over the years and watching them become better and better. I know you made a comment. With anything, there's learning curves and challenges with any new product.
Yeah.
It's the reality of it. Nobody ever puts out year one of something and knocks it completely out of the park. Right. And the same thing with our boots. This year, I gave you a pair of boots that I had 45, 50 days in, and they were still working great.
Yeah.
And to put that in perspective, I mean, your average guy's probably riding 15, 20 days tops a season. So that's two and a half seasons worth of riding. And I was completely dry. I just started losing a little bit of the stiffness, but I have bad ankles, so that's like me getting picky.
Yeah.
But those dual boas I ran last year were the best boot I have ever had on my foot.
I think those are a good feedback loop that we get when you bring those boots back, and
any of our guys.
Yeah. And I mean, some of the first gens, you brought them back and they were beat on pretty hard. But for you to use that set and get 40, 50 days out of them, they came back and they were still intact. The soles were still really in great shape. They had some wear and tear on, but they were still solid. I think that is just a good litmus test. I always appreciate that wear and tear you put on them, and I think it's really a pretty good solid boot. So I would recommend checking out the Raid double boas. We have a single boa as well, but both of those have an improved fit and really a little bit better stiffness. Great boot.
I see some questions on dual versus single boa. In my personal opinion, I kind of would push like the trail rider to like a single boa. The dual isn't necessary. It's still a great added comfort and kind of really refine that fit. But in the mountain division, that dual is really nice to tighten up in those key areas, whether you have weaker ankles or whatever it may be. But they're great in both applications, but definitely, I wouldn't quite say overkill for the trail rider to have dual boa. It's just a little bit personal preference, but there's a few different options. Yeah,
I would agree. I think, as you were saying, really, it probably almost comes down to how much do you want to mess around with fine tuning the fit. That lower, the double boa allows you to get that lower portion a little tighter. The upper portion can be a little looser. You can tune that. With the single, it all gets tight and it's comfortable, and it's quicker probably on and off, and it, tighten it up. But if you are looking for a little bit more of that fine tune adjustment, the double boa gives you that.
For sure.
So I think that's a good kind of highlight. We've got some awesome stuff in the mountain segment, but we'll move on to kind of more of the crossover and the trail guy. Give those guys some love.
I know you could ramble about the whole catalog because Bill will have a light flick on of something he gets excited about and wants to talk about, and I can see you trying to ride the wave here of what you want to hit on.
Yeah. So I think an awesome segue in the trail section. We came out with a new helmet late again last year, but it's the Tactical 2.0.
Yes,
kind of an update to the original Tactical. And that helmet, I think, is another one to look out for this year. A great option for the mountain rider, crossover, trail rider. If the trail rider's not looking really to wear a full face helmet helmets are great if you're just going high speed. But if you want to dabble and do a little ditch banging, the Tactical 2.0 is really designed well for the trail rider, specifically this V system that we added into it that helps seal off the goggle to helmet. Solve that problem, I feel like, and is a good kind of alternative for the trail rider.
It's like a balaclava on steroids. I wish that technology existed when I was living in the Midwest. I was the guy that would, you had to look cool, right? You didn't want to wear the full face helmet. You wanted to wear whatever color goggles and kind of have that freestyle look at the time. But with that, the cost was freezing your ass off and just dealing with it and layering up and balaclavas and stuffing them up into your nose, trying to pin them down with your goggles. And now with that V system, you have a full seal. You can layer it with another balaclava, but there's air's not getting in there.
There's no way.
It's like a wetsuit almost around your face there.
Yeah. We're using a neoprene material, pretty thin, maybe a 2.5, 3 millimeter neoprene, but it is essentially that balaclava, but on the helmet. It's attached to the helmet, a neoprene that really covers the face. You have your eye port, and then you put the goggle over the top of it, and there is no exposed skin. And honestly, I will just say, the looking cool factor is pretty key. But the Tactical 2.0 in a goggle, the X7 is a great goggle that gives you more visibility, gives you more options for some of the lens colors and choices. So it is an alternative if you're looking for that ability to cross over. If you do kind of the mountain pilgrimage once a year and you want to have a helmet that can run in the mountains as well, the Tactical 2.0 is a very good choice. And then this X7 kind of also built with that in mind. Trail riders don't want a bunch of airflow in their goggles. So we were as we were building this, we made these vents turn on and off. So you can open the vent if you want it for a mountain, or close them if you don't want that air for trail riding. And that's another key just differentiation that allows us to build really that helmet goggle combo for the trail rider.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a solid package. It's, riding those long days and it's nighttime and you don't have a shield to change out. Now you can still be comfortable, put a clear lens in, not have that air leak, not have that exposed skin, and, just have a ton of options of goggle lenses.
Yeah. So that is a good option, and I would probably almost put that into the crossover a little bit. But if really your game is bell to bell, high speed, all day, tons of trail miles, and being able to go and explore, we've got another new helmet in line for that trail rider that is really just more the rabid trail rider. And that new helmet is the Delta V Carbon Ignite. We just actually got notification today that's passed EC 2206. That's a new certification. A little bit of a kind of an improved, safer, more stringent certification. Took a little bit of time to go through the adequate testing, get that confirmed. So that Delta V will be coming in later this year, but keep an eye out for that. It's a really cool new helmet, a lot of cool new technologies, high speed, does not have a visor, really just kind of purpose built for the guy who likes to go fast.
Yeah. It's super cool. I've seen it. I've seen the developmental stages of it, the behind the scenes of getting it dialed in, and it's on the website right now. If you guys want to see photos of that thing, I mean, it just looks fast. It's the best way to put it.
It has got a little bit of a fighter jet kind of look to it. We've used a couple of these Venturi vents on the helmet itself for a functional aspect that actually...
And those are just giant exhaust ports essentially to let fresh air in and crappy air out the back, or you gotta explain this to me, Bill.
Yeah,
I'm getting caught up here.
Yeah, the functional side of that Venturi vent is really just using the free stream air to go through those vents, and as it goes through that vent, it necks down, speeds up, and as it speeds up, it creates a little bit of a negative pressure, and then we're kind of sucking the moisture out of the helmet using that negative pressure that Venturi vent uses. So it's a kind of carburetor technology that we've put into this helmet. And instead of
NASA level stuff
here.
Yeah,
It's been really fun for us to work on that. It was a good COVID project as we were building that. But that allows you to not force air into the helmet, but just take the moist air out. So it's much quieter. It is more comfortable. You don't feel a bunch of that air blast. You're just really feeling this this moisture in the breath box getting sucked out of the helmet, and it goes out the back. But you're not really forcing any of the air into the helmet. So it's a cool technology. Has a functional aspect, but it does just look cool.
Right.
I think it is a cool aspect. Still has an Ignite shield. You can plug that into your machine and run fog free all day.
There's one last thing I kind of want to hit on helmets.
Oh, yeah.
Just a kind of pride for ourselves thing. Now, what's really cool about these helmets is like this Delta V and this Altitude 2.0s. These are built from the ground up in-house here. Like I wander back in design sometimes and I'm kind of mind blown what's going on. Like clay molds, essentially like sculpting a car when you used to see back in the days.
Yeah.
These things are not anybody can get their hands on these. These are our own molds that we own and built from the ground up for, the consumer this needs.
Yeah, that has evolved.
Yeah.
I think just in order for us to purpose build something and it's really specific to what we want that customer to have, we got to build it from the ground up. And we'll go through that design phase. We do a lot of mock-ups, 3D printing, work in CAD, then get a model and mark it up and kind of just reiterate kind of what we want. And eventually that turns into a helmet, and it's kind of a cool process. It's a long process, but it is a cool process. Then you got to go through all the process of getting it produced and certified and get it all fitted. But it has been I think a good aspect for us to focus on, just so that we've got the helmet just the way we want it.
Doesn't happen overnight by any means. I love seeing all the different renditions and just skeletons of prototypes sitting around. It's cool seeing the timeline that brings it to what everybody else sees eventually.
Yeah. So we'll have those at the events as well. Come by, check them out. Keep an eye out for those. But I'd say by Christmas, you could have one under the Christmas tree.
Sweet.
Another cool product that I wanted to show for the trail guys was the Duke trigger finger mitten. We've been talking about a mitten for a while. I think, again, trail riders are really exposed to cold temperatures, high speeds. They're, got a lot of exposure, sub-zero temperatures. And the mitten is a very good functional piece. The problem is a little bit of the dexterity that you lose with a mitten. So we built a trigger finger. And that allows you to be able to have brake access if you're running a finger throttle. Does trail guys use a finger throttle?
Yeah, if they're nuts, they will.
But any kind of opening a zipper, putting on a fidlock, you now at least got this kind of dexterity. Ton of insulation on I think it's 600 grams. Of insulation. We've got all kinds of cool little technology of the shear lock and what do we call this thing? I'm kind of spacing. What's this little gizmo? The not the shear lock. The
speed cinch. Speed cinch, right? Is that it? There we go.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got this Duke trigger finger's got a lot of great insulation. 600 grams on the back. Speed cinch and all the really cool technology, full gauntlet, goat leather with oil tack. I mean, it's just a really cool piece. So another good spot for you to take a look at.
Do you know off the top of your head what the palm insulation rating is on it?
I think it's 100 grams on the palm and then 600 on the back. So a little bit more like a boxing glove where it's a lot on the back where you got that exposure.
Yeah, I just talked to somebody about that. They were looking at insulation ratings on gloves and they were trying to find the highest they could on front and back. And I think a lot of people overlook that if you have too much in the palm, you're doing the opposite. You're almost keeping cold air in, especially if you have heated bars. It's not able to break that barrier, and you want it where that high contact is of air. That's why we run the 600 in the back, 100 in the palm. Exactly. You're able to still feel the bars, and heat's able to break through there off the heated elements from the handlebars.
Yeah, for sure. With the heated grip, we don't need a whole lot of insulation, and honestly, we want less insulation on the palm so that you can feel the bars. You got to have a great grip on the bars. You got to know what this thing's doing. So we put less on the palm and more on the back of the hand.
Yeah, I just want people to keep that in mind when everybody gets, especially when you're in Sub-Zero. I get it. You're looking for highest insulation rating all the way around, but in gloves specifically, that's actually going to play as a negative if the palm is heavily insulated.
That's right. So keep an eye out for that one. What else do we have for the trail and crossover guys? New piece that we've come out with this year. You'll be seeing that also a little bit later this year, but that is the Stoke ZI.
Oh yeah.
So the Stoke has been in our mountain line for probably 2-3 years now. Really a great piece with some great material technology. More of a 3-layer construction without the liner. Gives you some great stretch, and so you've got some kind of a little bit more of that stretch and that ease built into it. But we've now added this zonal insulation to this piece for someone who's running a little colder, or really even be able to utilize it on the trail. There's a zonal insulation on the chest, a little bit on the back, and then we've got a women's version of this as well with a bib.
That's just a blown-in synthetic down.
It is a blown-in synthetic baffled down, so it's
super lightweight. Still, is the cool part.
Yeah, it's got a lot of insulation value, very low weight, and it doesn't interfere with the stretch aspect of that, which a lot of the insulated pieces would do. So that's an interesting piece. There's probably a little bit more of a layering story to that, which, maybe we could spend some more time talking about layering. But if you get in cold conditions, you're going to need to layer appropriately with that Stoke ZI to be comfortable. But it's a good broad range for 20 degrees to -20, depending on what layers you're using.
Yeah, even the Western guy, our longtime athlete, Ross Robinson, he ran the prototype of that in like January and February.
Wow.
And he rode some just blower, dry POW days in McCall, Idaho of 0, -10 out. And he's like, this is the best combo I've ever had. Probably. With a merino base layer and that. He's like, I was comfortable. I was never too warm, never too cold.
Yeah.
It just worked, and he could still articulate well. It never really bound up. It's just a really cool piece for those colder days, even in the Western riding areas.
Yeah, that's interesting. It doesn't look or feel like an insulated piece.
No, not at all.
But I think just with that insulation in the zonal kind of spots where you need it, it's going to help a lot.
Yeah.
So that one is a really cool piece for us as well. Kind of more of that crossover kind of realm.
Mm-hmm. I kind of do quickly. I know it's not always a quick topic, but do you want to hit on layering a little bit? Because just strictly out of I get so much internal pain when I see you guys wearing cotton sweatshirts under stuff. I the second I see a cotton hood flapping around, I'm like, you're gonna have a bad afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I think the cotton sweatshirt does an okay job at creating insulation. And really that's all layering is creating a dead air space between the shell and your body to be able to maintain that heat and protect yourself from that cold. So the cotton sweatshirt's better than nothing. But
if you're out for a walk around the block, it's great to layer with.
Right.
But if you're snowmobiling and start sweating, not a good day.
That is where the cotton sweatshirt starts to fail, is when moisture gets involved. Yep. Because now that cotton is really just a conductor. It will take the cold from the outside and conduct it straight to your body. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel cold. And really a couple of pieces that we have in the line, my favorite is the FCN Merino. Merino wool is by far the best natural insulator that's out there. That does a great job of insulating and protecting from that outer shell to the skin. So
I've tried to explain how merino works. I may have butchered it to a few people. I apologize. But Bill, could you give me a quick, brief description of exactly how that technology works?
Well, that is less technology and more nature.
Right.
So maybe you have to ask the higher power how merino wool really works. But it is a merino wool is coming from a specific type of sheep. And the merino sheep specifically have a finer merino fur, merino hair. And that makes it less scratchy. It makes it less prone to shrinkage. It's a very distinct merino wool that has not really been around that while. But people think of merino wool and they think of grandpa's old military kind of merino, right? It's not just wool. It's not the same. The merino is much softer, better close to skin. You can machine wash it. It's really a good technology for insulation. And it's got this ability to create great insulation even when it is damp. It can have some moisture in it, but you won't feel it like you will a cotton hoodie. And it's got a good natural insulation. It's got a certain stiffness to it, so it creates a little bit of its own loft. And it doesn't smell. You can
I was just going to say that.
Like,
on a personal level, I don't recommend it. But if you're going on that 5-day trip or whatever,
I only have one.
I know there's been some times I pushed it to the point of where even I know this is gross. Just because I can't smell it doesn't mean there's not something going on in there. But it is great that it does not stink.
It is naturally more antimicrobial.
Yeah.
I would not necessarily advise it, but if you are, I mean, on some of these bigger trips and you only got one, I always bring that second one. I bring an FZN or some other one. I'm like, no, I'm just going to wear the merino because it is just a great layer. So I think our FZN merino is a little thicker, a little bit heavier than kind of your typical insulation. That also makes it a great layering piece. So it's probably more in the 280 gram, which is pretty heavy. But for a winter base layer, it's fantastic. Really kind of keeps its shape. I mean, there's not a lot of things to not say that's good about it.
It's a cool piece. That's definitely my go-to, has been since it came out. I have zero complaints about it. If anything, the only thing I complain about is that more people aren't wearing merino wool base layers.
So honestly, I think, a merino and a shell for me allows me to get to a zero degree day and up, and I'm comfortable. If you're getting into the negative temperatures, I think that's when you start getting into another mid-layer piece that is required. And I think that's probably something that we need to spend more time on and kind of educating the customers and describing a little bit more of that flexibility that you have to layer appropriately to be warm. So we have a couple pieces in our line, the Sin Down hybrids. All of those are meant to be a mid-layer piece. If it's -10, -20, you need another little layer there that, again, just kind of creates a little bit more of that insulation gap. And we kind of are describing that now almost as this kind of additive layer that's like this outer shell is worth like an insulation unit. The FCN's worth an insulation unit. And then this mid layer is almost worth another 1 or 2 insulation units. So as you start getting more of those layers, it is better for the colder temperatures. I mean, it's just, if you're trail riding and you're not really that active, you don't have a whole lot of metabolic heat, you've got to be able to save the heat that you do have by having more of that insulation. Yeah,
those Sin Lofts, I think, are a little bit overlooked because it's packable too. It's a nice thing. Yeah. You get warm, it warms up 10, 15 degrees in the day. It stows away easily. You can pack it up, put it in your backpack. You can put it in the hood of your sled nowadays.
I always have one of those.
Yep.
I rarely pull it out, but if you get a mechanical or a medical issue and you're stuck out there, that extra piece is going to be pretty nice to have.
Yeah.
So I have that spare pair of gloves just in case. I've
Definitely.
been stuck out there, and you got to kind of be ready for that.
We've hit a little bit of mountain, a little bit of trail, a little bit of crossover.
Yeah.
I know specifically you guys listening going into HayDays that R200 has been a hit in the Midwest. Those guys love that. And I understand why. There's so many different variations within one jacket, different liner options, whether it's a shell, 200 gram, 300 gram. I think we could dive into that a little bit if you'd like. There's some really cool options within that jacket.
It's a great piece. And I think that almost is the gateway to this layering conversation. If it is cold, that R200 does really well with the insulation component zipped in. But if it's not crazy cold, that R200's ability to take that insulation piece out, just use a base layer, allows you to be comfortable in a 20 degree, 25 degree day instead of that negative 10 degree day.
Yeah.
So I think that's what people like about it. It's got a great ergonomic fit, which I think also is just, really comfortable. But that versatility is a key aspect. We kind of describe it as a crossover piece, but I think it's also really just the versatility that a trail rider could benefit in that piece.
Yeah, I mean, even the vents in it, great exhaust out the back, pit vents. There's just so many options of how to wear. And then last year, man, time flies. I think it was last year we introduced the pant with that as well.
I think it might be 2 years ago
man.
now. But we have the R200 pant as well. It's also got a zip out insulation piece. Same concept. I mean, it's really any day, any conditions, that piece will be good for you. I just, you got to kind of almost plan ahead with do I need this insulation layer or not for the forecast that you have? So that is a great piece. Still a lot of the ranges, Allied monos. There's a lot of good pieces out there.
There's so many options.
It has grown
to pick from.
Yeah. And more coming. So keep all of that in mind, but we'll have a few of those pieces available in stock at the events, and really excited to talk more about it with people.
I do want to take a couple minutes also and hit on the debate of mono versus two-piece.
The debate.
I know it's definitely in my eyes a personal preference thing.
Yeah.
I personally, to start it off, the best case scenario, which I know is not realistic for everybody out there riding, but if it is an option for you, is to have both. That Monosuit, from at least in the western side of riding, is my go-to from December through February. When you have the great snow days, it's a little colder, and hopefully you're constantly riding really good POW. There's no snow getting in. You got great air circulation through the whole thing. But then come spring, it is nice being able to hang out, take your jacket off, strip down a layer. So I always say it's kind of a personal preference thing. Do you want to not be able to take a jacket off all season, or do you want to have no issues with any snow sneaking in anywhere all season? It's pick your poison.
The Monosuit versus the jacket bib debate. I think both are great options. We have both in the line. I feel like the snowmobile industry has adopted the mono in ways that the ski industry and other industries are like, no way, dude, I'm not wearing that thing.
Right.
But it is a great functional piece for deep snow days, good winter days. I think the advice I would give for a user is, ultimately it is their decision, but some of the advice, some of the things to think about, are the first thing is just body shape.
Right.
I think, as we go and visit a lot of these customers, everyone's different size and shapes, and some people are not necessarily a large bottom and a large top. Mm-hmm. So if you are kind of in that realm where you want to actually mix it up and have a different size bottom than you do a top, and it goes kind of both ways. I mean, you see people are long-waisted or long-legged. I mean, it's just sometimes the monos are not really able to fit every body type.
No, great point.
Yeah. So I think that is one concern, or one thing just to kind of consider. The other aspect that is, I think, kind of built into that debate is you have the option of this one monosuit, and it does the job. Or you have this option of a jacket pant, and that jacket pant allows you to kind of, again, alter this layering or adjust that a little bit. And my outfit that I took to Fairbanks was actually a Stoke bib and an ether jacket.
Okay.
And that was interesting kind of way just to mix that up a little bit. Same kind of thing. Like if it's nice out, it was still pretty chilly, but 20 degrees and no wind and blue sky, like we take jacket off and kind of just chill out. Not as easy to do on a monosuit. You got stuff dangling around. And so I chose the jacket bib combo in that just really so I could kind of mix that up and have that option of wearing a different jacket, but really just have that one bib along.
Yeah. I mean, two totally different takes, but still some similar, reoccurring reasoning there.
But I do think, the monosuit's benefit is really a very purpose-built snowmobile piece. And then once you get to the trailhead, like take that thing off and get into more of your street clothes. But it is the best. It actually vents better. You have less of this overlapping. You've got less chinks in the armor. There is no better snowsuit than the monosuits that are out there in the market. So both are good. And I'll wear both, but I probably go a little bit more jacket and bib style, just to kind of have that versatility.
Well, I have a list of things I can keep asking you. If there's stuff you want to hit on, go ahead. I'm just thinking of, you're going to these shows and you're taking all this information, you're reading about the gear and kind of the common questions. And one I see a lot is, what exactly does the waterproof and breathability rating mean? We just see a number, X amount of 1,000. And I think just like anything, we look at horsepower, and the higher the better, right?
Right.
But kind of in layman's terms, what does that mean when we're staring at waterproof breathability ratings?
Wow.
Is that a good question for you, Bill? We got plenty of time. Yeah.
I mean, the kind of technology behind that is really pretty amazing. There is in this outerwear garment, there's this laminate embedded in that bonded underneath the face fabric, that has this crazy ability of stopping moisture from passing through water, but allows perspiration and the moisture in a gas form to pass through. I honestly don't know how they do that, but it's very small little finite pores that allow that membrane to be able to keep the water from coming in. So that first number, that 10,000, is a 10,000 millimeters of water pressure. And
is it per square inch?
It doesn't really matter for,
okay.
I mean, as that head of water expands, the pressure gets more, but it's always the same amount in the fabric that it sees. But 10,000 millimeters is a lot of water, a lot of water pressure. And then that's the first 10K. The next 10K is 10,000 grams of moisture can pass through a square meter of the material in a 24-hour period.
Okay, so it's a 24-hour rating scale, huh?
So it's a square meter. It's 24 hours. So it's a lab kind of number.
Yeah.
But you can feel this stuff preventing moisture from coming in, and as you dig out, you're all kind of loaded up with sweat, but as you kind of get rolling, you feel this thing kind of get rid of that moisture. And this is, again, I think where the layering probably is the the smartest thing to have, not cotton.
Right.
Because the cotton does not really want to give that moisture away. It wants to hold it. Where the merinos or our FCN level 1s do a great job of getting that moisture from your body to the shell material in that laminate, and that laminate is then able to expel that out of the jacket. It's pretty incredible. I think you can kind of get lost in that. I think, waterproof breathables are not always the same. There's a lot of different mechanisms. That breathability rating is really a lab kind of condition. And that lab condition requires a driving force of it's very humid here and it's not humid there. And the moisture wants to move from more concentration to less concentration. So it wants to equalize. But as you're out there sweating and riding in snow and the snow's melting, it doesn't have the same amount of driving force. So that's where one waterproof breathable does not perform the same as another. There's different mechanisms. And so some of the waterproof breathables out there will actually just allow that vapor to pass, but definitely needs that driving force. Other membranes like the Sympatex absorbs that moisture and mechanically more capillary action drives that out to the outside, uses a different type of driving force. And that's where it performs different. And you'll notice it in different coats, like, if it's stormy days, certain jackets don't perform as good as others. So it is a little bit of a complicated topic, but
you shed some light on it for sure, though.
Yeah.
I every time we chat, Bill, I'm learning something new, or I'm hearing it more in depth about something I love when you elaborate on something I know the basics of. And now, I'm just trying to cram all this knowledge in and store it away, but I'm sure I'll have to ask you again sometime.
Well, I think the kind of the basics of that is really, as you go out and ride and you come back, it's like, am I dry and comfortable at the end of the day? If it is, it's working, I think in certain aspects, these ratings do give the customer kind of an idea of kind of what that's going to do for them. 20K is better than a 10K, but in a lot of cases, that 10K fabric really does
more than
pretty
enough.
good, for what we're doing. The other aspect of this outerwear and the performance of that outerwear, in addition to the 10K membranes, is the water repellency that's on the outside of that surface. That comes from the factory, from the mills, with a durable water repellent called a DWR. And that really helps, really just like the wax of your car. It just allows that moisture to bead off and to really keep that fabric dry. If the fabric's dry, then it's going to be warmer. As soon as that starts wetting out, it starts really getting colder. When it gets colder, it's going to want to condense on the inside of the jacket. It's going to feel like the jacket's leaking, but oftentimes we'll go through and do that testing and find that it's not actually leaking, doesn't have a chink in the armor, but the DWR is worn off. A lot of times on your shoulders or areas where you got backpack straps. Right. The DWR wears out and you got to apply a new water repellency, but that is a really good key piece to make sure that you're dry and comfortable. If you start seeing that wetting out, it's time to pick up a Nick Wax or something and be able to apply that, and you'll definitely feel it when you get that to bead off. It keeps everything dry and more comfortable.
Well, it's a lot of information. Great information.
This gets me all like warmed up for HayDays.
I know. I'm just trying to retain all that information. I appreciate you taking the time, Bill. We're lucky to have you here. You are full of just technology and tons of new information every single time I chat with you. For the listeners, feel free to re-listen to this if you want numerous times. There's a lot of great stuff to, kind of dictate what your decision is going into winter 23 and buying gear. With that being said, we got dealers everywhere. Check out our dealer locator, see what the closest one is to you. Snow shows coming up. We got HayDays. Let's see, at the time of this launching, HayDays will be a few days away.
Awesome.
So hopefully we'll see you there. Otherwise, East Coast, West Coast, whatever. We got snow shows all over the place. There's plenty of options or opportunities to run into somebody at 509 and chat further about this and make the right decision for your riding style for winter 23. So thank you, Bill. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Go bother Bill at HayDays. I mean, he loves talking about this stuff. So thanks for listening, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. And on Spotify and Apple, leave us a review. We love reading them. So we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.